So today's featured reader is the Stinky Bagels. And so I'm going to turn it over to Colette, and she can give you some more information about that.
I am just so thrilled to get to introduce 4 of our senior poets from Corban University, and they're mostly part of a club called Stinky Bagels, which is the oldest club in Corban's campus. I started it 28 years ago, and it got dubbed Stinky Bagels because I brought everything bagels from Winco for us to snack on. So we didn't even pick that name, but it kind of stuck, and I tried to make it fancy and classier, and people were like, no, Stinky Bagels, so we went back to Stinky Bagels. And all 4 of these senior poets are just so fabulous. Don't even listen to what they're going to trash talk their poems in their poems, but don't believe a word of it. And I brought brought the Fusion Art Show book back there from this year, and then next year our Fusion Art Show is going to be in March, and I'm sure Mark will be great about announcing that. But it's got poems, photographs, and paintings in it back there. So that's why it's Fusion. And they're $10 each if you want one. And I'm just going to turn it over to the wonders of poetry.
So my name is Rosalie. I'm a senior at Corban University. Thank you for having us. We're excited to share our poetry. To start off with, for my poems, let's address the way my poems scamper about when I'm not looking. It makes it hard to rein them in. Chasing poems. My poems wake up early and are ready long before I am. Sometimes they've already nibbled on their toast and are catching tree frogs in the stream behind the house by the time I've rubbed my eyes and am ready to dash after them. There are those rare times when we meet, usually in the kitchen, while my hands are floured, and the words show up among the ground nutmeg that spilled over the edge of the mixing bowl. And suddenly, out of nowhere, my poems become shy. But when I coax them with promises of mint leaves and milk chocolate chips, they smile again and laugh, leaving footprints as they caper across my page. Cherry Fabrications. For what it's worth, I like the flavor, the sweet spun fragility of it, shaped in stars, in webs, in tangles, mesmerization decorated in cherry. While some I've encountered almost sparkle, this one that you spun me this morning has begun to bleed through when I hold it up to the sun. That's strange, but perhaps I'll try a mango one if you weave it when I'm not looking.
Mark, would you turn it up a little?
Yeah.
We're just moving the mic out of town.
Perfect. How's that? Is that better? Okay. Okay, this next one is kind of based off of my childhood. I grew up in the mountains. Not a wild child, but there were trees everywhere anyway. Mountain kids know about oil lamps. Riding my scooter to check the mail with my blue helmet, it was my brother's. Mickey cartoons on Saturdays with Lucky Charms or Reese's Puffs, still my favorites. Make-believe on the tire swing and digging in the autumn dirt, cooking clover soup so my imaginary friends have a snack, mine is raisins. Power goes out when a tree falls. Mountain kids know about oil lamps. December arrives again and I pad barefoot in the snow, prove my bravery. Schoolwork days are busy as we make them. All the rocks I've collected stashed next to my dress-up box, jumbled with marbles and gum. So there's a poet that I've read some of his work. His name is Charles Goodrich, and I very much enjoy his work. This next one is written after one of his poems that was titled Report from Behind. Report from somewhere. At the age of 10, carefree and small, I wanted to grow up. At 20, I have done that, or at least I've started to. That's where I am now, and I feel too far behind. I'm not caught up with politics, celebrities, trends, and I have no implants, not a single tattoo. Not all of us do. I'm supposed to know what comes next, stay ahead of the game, create growth and newness while, my own self withers away, I suppose? I never got to learn from the weeds beside the road. Will you teach me what they said? The world is spinning so very fast, but we don't have to catch up. The rain that came last night, let's go out and walk in it and bloom anew together. Breathe that bloom into our own cheeks too. My shadow. My shadow is wiser than me, observing all the moments that I miss amidst the chaos and retaining all the lessons that I toss over my shoulder like sunflower seeds. My shadow is braver than me, standing taller than I would dare, and though it hides sometimes, like me, that's not because it's scared, like me, it just knows when the time is right. My shadow is older than me, always one step ahead, experiencing things I have not yet, but occasionally watching from behind to see if I've learned anything. And then my last one here, this poem spawned during a time when I was having the worst writer's block imaginable, and I started just jotting down that process of having writer's block, and somehow it ended up producing something. Time is too relative for a jellyfish. The paper is yielding nothing. Prism is nice, but can I turn it into a feeling? Thesaurus. That setting is too northern. We need calmer skies. Lilac doesn't go with early afternoon. Perhaps apricot. Canary or cornflower blue? I remember that word in gold font on a colored pencil when I was 7. Oops, back to poetry. Wrong kind of plant. A cypress tree is nice. Rain is rather cliche. Thesaurus. 3 o'clock doesn't sound quite right. Let me just insert every time of day known to man until one makes sense. Never mind. Time is too relative for a jellyfish. That middle stanza is coming along nicely. Wait, thesaurus. Oh, no, it has 5 lines now. Okay, now they all have 5. Balance restored. Wait, where did the broccoli come from? Thesaurus. Gratitude or remorse? Thesaurus. All right, that's better. That's nice. Wait. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stacia, and I'm honored to be here, especially considering I've never once stepped foot in the Stinky Bagels Poetry Club. And Dr. Tennant has had to fight tooth and nail to get me to produce any worthy poems. Another poem. Here's your prompt. Take it and run. I melt in my chair and lock the groan away. Why must we circle around and around, the words arranged just so? Again, no cliches, be specific. I roll my chair closer to the table with a bang. I wonder what in the world got into my head. Whose brilliant idea was it that being an English major would be fun? That line's too poetic. I frown and barely restrain from throwing my hands up in the air. Isn't this supposed to be poetry? How can you be too poetic? I huff and pout and glare at the taunting, blinking line on my empty Word doc. Mama always said not to hate. Okay, fine. Then I have an extreme dislike for overanalyzing why the poet wrote about eating spaghetti for dinner. Maybe the strand symbolized her messy life. Maybe pasta deeply impacted her life. Or, no, maybe she just ate spaghetti for dinner. Maybe it was all that came to mind when forced to write another poem. This next piece was inspired by a prompt to write about burying a pet, and because I didn't want to start bawling in class, I let my imagination run wild with this complete work of fiction. Celebration of death. It was time, they said, and I suppose my parents were right. All things have their time. It was time to say goodbye to Harry. Finally. So I pulled on my white plastic gloves and picked up my courage. I looked in the mirror and said, I can do this, just like I had done every time I walked by Harry. I grabbed Mom's kitchen tongs. She didn't really think I was going to touch him, did she? I pinched them tight, but not too tight, around his 8 legs and round hairy body. Then I threw that disgusting arachnid in the deepest, most joyous hole I'd ever dug, and heaved that mound of satisfying dark brown dirt on top, forever erasing him from my eyesight. Finally. Then I celebrated Harry's long-awaited death and called Grandma over for a bowl of ice cream, gleefully fueling my brain freeze, staring at the beautifully empty terrarium. But wait, Harry Brown crawling catches my eye. A replacement. The following is an email I wish I could send to my professor of the morning class that forces me out of bed on Mondays. Subject, absent. Sent at 9:51 a.m. Hi, doctor, I won't actually say your name here. Sorry, I was missing from our 9 a.m. this morning. My alarm clock didn't go off. And last night was really late. My friend called and needed someone to eat ice cream with her. And then we had to drive to Portland for donuts. No, we couldn't have gone to do Donut City. They were closed. Yeah, I know. Crazy, right? The 24-hour donut place was closed. Outrageous. What's this world coming to? And then we got stuck in traffic. Must have been rush hour. You know, the 2 a.m. rush hour. And then we got lost. On I-5, I guess. I'm sure you're wondering about GPS, but it's on my phone. Oh, would you look at that? I guess it's not charged. It's dead. Must have been why my alarm didn't go off. Sorry, I'll try better next time. Take care, Stacia. Sent from my iPhone. Don't you sometimes wish that you could free yourself from the chains of worrying about what others think of you? Me too. I'd rather be the one who didn't care. It'd all be easier then. I could run through the halls shouting, unashamedly sing in the shower, and break out dancing in the middle of the parking lot. Maybe I'd spend a little less time in front of the mirror, having another outfit crisis 10 minutes before I have to run out the door. I'd ask the boy to the Sadie Hawkins and wouldn't wonder what his friends were saying. We'd say goodnight, and I wouldn't puzzle for hours afterward if I said things wrong, or replay what I should have said. I'd go to sleep sooner at night. No more fluffing the pillows, desperate to beat out all the rotating worries blaring through my mind. It'd all be easier then if I never worried about what they thought, if I was the one who didn't care. So my final one. I've never been one that liked poetry, obviously. And for the last 2 years, Dr. Tennant, also known as Lady B. Caravaggio, a nickname or pen name that her previous creative writing students gave her, she and I have been at war. But as a senior graduating this spring, it seems our war is coming to a close. The poetry war of 2 years. Once upon a time, she left her office chair-shaped throne and walked the H-shaped castle down to her kingdom in 3327. The queen stood before her subjects. All was perfect. They loved their work. Poetry. Perfectly uncliched, surprising, absolutely no rhyming, and something else I, the narrator, have not yet mastered. But one dark day, in Part 8, Chapter 2022, an intruder invades the poetic kingdom of Queen Caravaggio. Disoriented, the stranger falls into a seat as everyone busily worries their pencil leads down to nubs. It isn't long before her horrid poetry screeches out, interrupting the queen's beautiful symphony of metaphors and similes. With a tendency to be perfectly cliched, unsurprising, and a love for rhyming, it's not a shock that words begin to catapult back and forth across the page. Ambushing adjectives and an arsenal of adverbs. As the war wages on, the intruder slowly learns to bend to the whims of the queen. Her weapons weakening, she waves her white paper high. The scene where the intruder disappears. A glorious blue skied May Day. Our former adversary walks the stage and takes a final bow. Her cap and gown sway as she meets the eyes of the gracious queen whose patient endurance has seen her through. She leaves the poetic kingdom of Queen Caravaggio with, well, not love, but certainly not hate. Let's just say a better understanding, a respect for her queen and her craft. Avoid cliches, be surprising, and limit the rhyming. And this time, everyone does live happily ever after. The end.
Hi guys. Let's guess and see. Is the mic? Oh, okay. We're in a fortunate mood. Okay, hi. So I'm Savannah. I'm also from Stinky Bagels. I'm really excited to be with you guys today. I've never gotten to do a reading outside of Fusion, so this is a first for me as well in its own right. I also have a poem that came as a result of some pretty severe writer's block, and so I thought it could be fun in the nature of the thing to start off with that tonight. So, where do the poems live? I've been looking for them since August. I've peeled open the spines of musty books, lifted up cracked leaves, peered into the light shafts of fog, slicing into the night at 2 a.m. Is it dangerous for them this time of year? In autumn, they make tents out of the leaves. In spring, they sleep inside the curves of flower buds. But in November, where do the poems go to safely rest? I'm getting worried. I sit down at my desk most days, writing the beginnings of letters, and the poems don't write back anymore. Am I doing it wrong? Would they like a sonnet? More rhymes, less. Maybe if I just tell them the truth. How I have stray syllables stuck in my esophagus and loose letters catching on my teeth, maybe then one will flap in through the crevice in the window. Maybe it will come and rest in my hand and let me pet its little black smudged words with my fingertips. So I didn't think it would be fair to come up here in the representation of Stinky Bagels and not give at least one Stinky Bagels poem. So one of our favorite little games to do pretty recently is the entire gang will get together and we will each apply one word that we then all have to somehow form into a poem. And this and my British Empire class conglomerated into this fever dream that I was told in no uncertain terms needed to be included tonight. The Pilgrims digress. Sometimes I wonder about the Puritans, sitting around in their colonies, tending the green sprouts of their crops. And I wonder, have they considered the coconut? The strange product of a faraway land, the means of the almond joy on my desk? No. They are whispering about the sins and scandals of their neighbor who makes muffins. It doesn't matter how delicious her muffins, or how many she sends her neighbors when they are sick. It only matters that she forgot herself that one time. So, Dr. Tennant relentlessly makes us submit to any literary journal that we can find that is accepting. And I appreciate that because recently I got my very first poem published in the Oregon Poets Association. So this is the poem, and it is the poem that I threw in on impulse and didn't think anybody would like. So I thought I would inflict it on all of you tonight as well. Month's poem. October. I have discovered stars blooming in the corner of my new room. I have searched the library books for explanations. So far, no luck. March. The first cherry blossoms of the year grew out of the bottom of my teacup this morning. Ripples of dark liquid radiated off the branches. I choked on a few petals floating at the surface. July. I met a man in a city by the shore who asked me about my vices. I told him mine was trust. He seemed to remember something before handing me a notebook. I never saw him again. So, like Stacia, I do have a little bit of an ornery streak. And I thought that it would be really funny to take two things that Dr. Tennant really likes, which are Eden and stars, and purposefully put them in a creepy poem. And I did it as a joke, and then she said that I needed to read it tonight. So I don't know if she knows that I did this as satire, but she knows now. So, Eden's Revenge. Do you think thorns are Eden's revenge? That after all this time and all this suffering, the vines claw out of the earth, not to reach sunlight, but to reach us, to curse us over and over again for what we've done. And do you think the thorns, in absence of us, might stretch up to the sky and reach the stars, and in spite crawl around them and pull them down one by one? I don't have a fun intro for this one. I'm sorry in advance if I traumatize you, I guess. Things I've heard rumors of. A forest of trees that were once people. Their sap still runs red as iron, and you can hear them shrieking in the wind at night. A boy pulled from a frozen lake after a week by net, alive. Eyes wide-hazed fog, lungs yanking in cold air, he screamed for his brother with his first breath. Calligraphic lettering along the ribs of fallen leaves. You have to pilfer crunchy, crinkly piles to find them, brown and brittle like burned paper. Owls who know when you're about to die. The number of blinks as they look at you is how many days you have left to live. People who eat poems with their morning tea. They dip the folded pages in and swallow as the ink runs down their chins. Okay, so the last one that I'm going to read for you tonight comes with a disclaimer. I have been approached multiple times at this point to be asked if this poem was written to or about someone. No. It's just still no. So anyway, heartless. It must have slipped out from between my ribs when I wasn't looking. I should have known better than to let it out of the jar, but it looked so sad in there, steaming up the glass. Each beat propels it over the dirt, pulsing along a moist trail in its wake, sliding over moss and mud. Beat, scoot, beat, scoot. What are you doing all the way out here? I reach to lift it, pine needles stuck to its dampness. Compressed in my palm, it throbs and squirms. It doesn't care for that. It squelches, struggles, slips free of my grasp, plops hard onto the leaves. Beat, scoot, beat, scoot. It continues as though I'd never picked it up. A breath trembles off my lips. This time I kneel to lift it. You're not safe out here. I lay my palm in its path. The next beat oozes it into my hand. Sticky, slimy, incorrigible thing. It hasn't been listening to reason lately. You see, he smiled at me the other day. It's been trying to escape ever since.
Hello, my name is Ethan, and I'm also from Corban. And of the four of us, I am by far the least qualified to be here. And I do apologize for everything in advance. But it is actually kind of an honor to be here because my writing, in my opinion, has come a very long way since I attended Corban. When I was in high school, my writing was very weak. My high school teacher told me to my face my writing would never amount to anything. So when we're done here, I want to try to find him and say, in your face, Mr. Zacharias. So I decided for my first poem, I'm going to read you a poem about my poems, because when you attend an abandoned, a former tuberculosis hospital with a bunch of abandoned tunnels, you have tons of inspiration, and I've chosen to reject all of it. Every night, me and my poems drink at least 40 triple white chocolate lattes. Then we canoe up the stairs before we cordless bungee jump down elevator shafts. My poems get lost in the tunnels, and I scream at them so they follow my voice. We devote sleep time to conspiracy theories. Why do these old hospital rooms smell so funny? And where did last year's coyotes go? Are my poem's favorite. My poems are free to fly, like a fish that's been picked up in a tornado and sent soaring to some random direction until they hit the electric fence of fresh ideas. Some people try to understand my poems. I try to understand my poems. But my poems are like the sand in the wind, cannot be contained, and sometimes they hurt some poor smart guy's eyes. For my next poem, I used to work at a deli. And if you ever worked at customer service, you know there are about 1,000 things you wish you could say to the customers, but you don't because you enjoy being employed. But I don't work there anymore, so they can't fire me, so I have nothing to lose. So without ado, another shift, another day of oversharing for my customers. I am sorry, Emily, that you think your boyfriend is cheating. Yes, it is sick. It could be with your sister. I do hope your parents will help you. Can I get you some turkey? Of course, Eric, your wife will love this sliced ham. Nothing says happy anniversary like water-based ham. I can see the love you two have with each other in every slice. How many pounds can I get you? Yes, I will get you 20 pounds of specifically cut turkey, Sam. It is your wedding, and this will help the ceremony. Can I offer you some potato salad? Nothing says I do like the deviled egg version. Thank you, Chris, for telling me you feed everything I make to your dogs. Really helps my self-esteem, hearing you feed everything I make to your dog. I hope your golden retriever enjoys it. Glad to hear your brother's going to town, Caleb. Oh, you don't like him at all? Unresolved issues from when you were 8? You're 50 and still mad about that? Listen here, Tom, quickly, please. That's the 38th free sample you've had. I know they're free, I know there's no limit, but I'm going to cut you off. Now, Lily and Sarah are like sisters to each other. Their kids grew up together with only 3 houses apart. They're at each other's house several times every day, and somehow pea salad's the glue that keeps them together. So, before I get the pepperoni, let me make sure I heard that right. Mary's with Robert, but lies and says to her parents, and says she is with John. James is involved with both Betty and Susan at the same time, and Justin's been secretly meeting Anne for weeks. Yes, Karen, I am going on my break right now. How did you know? No, Karen, I will not help you first. I have to leave because the law says I must. My manager is right behind me, nodding in approval, so no, you cannot speak to her. You're never coming back here again? Yay, enjoy Walmart. So for my next one, as is traditional for all college students, my sleep schedule doesn't exist. So when I'm trying to lie in bed to sleep and I don't, I just think of a lot of questions, and I decided to just start jotting down one night some of the questions I had. So without further ado, I can't sleep. I have too many questions on my mind. What star on the flag belongs to what state? Does wood grow on trees? Do fish ever get stuck in traffic? Why aren't 11 and 12 teens? Are we sure math is related to science? I see math and science all the time, but I never see science and math. Is it a one-sided love? Who sets the roosters back an hour? If it's called a timeline, why are clocks round? What were they doing to the cow when they discovered milk? I'm sure you may have learned from my last poems, I absolutely love working on customer service. So logically, during summer, I got another job at a fast food restaurant. And so I decided to not hate on my customers. Instead, I would hate on my co-workers, who I warned if they kept up, this exact thing would happen. If my work were a show, it would be a comedic tragedy set in a kitchen not far enough away, on the corner of bad idea and should have said no to the offer. With the all-star cast of antisocial greeter and order taker, Watch the Bandard, Mr. Punchy, Miss 1774, wannabe cheerleader, chef, I hate cooking, Tim, manager, never on time, not a Canadian Matt, from Canada. It's always break time Sarah that shows up once a week, wonder. Policy violations. policy violations. Special guest Scruffy, the friendly local lunatic. And our host, Lady, I don't like any of you, as they are aided by 600-degree ovens and oil during a record heat wave. And a sidekick, a broken AC that has not worked since World War II. Join us for this season's new edition, a double veggie burger, now with extra pork bacon. And then for my last poem, and then I'll stop disgracing your fine institution with my presence, is just like one of my fellow poets with our game where we were all given random words. There's no requirement for what genre or whatever you have, just got used to words. And my muse was Billy Collins, who I've tried to base most of my writing out of. I was studying in the middle, so I decided to try to make one of mine as random as possible, and this whatever came out of it. So without further ado, are you confused by cold chicken? I'm confused by cold chicken, like how Zipper is confused. Does it know why its life is a yo-yo of separation? Why is it every year leaves and trees get divorced? Oh, sweet, sweet iced tea, why do you never write back?
First, thank you very much to the Stinky Bagels. Wonderful. So we're going to take a short break. We have those books in the back, the Fusement books in the back for $10. There's some Almond Joys, and there's some the last of the Halloween candies back there. And we have two lists back there. One is if you want to be on the mailing list for the Salem Poetry Project, you can sign up on that list. Or if you want to read in the open mic, you can sign up on that list. We'll come back in about 10 minutes or so.